A friend from university and I got to chatting about borderline millennial adulting challenges. Midlife crisis is a bitch, and we're at the point of our lives where we're contemplating about what happened and what could have been. We joked about how the double combo of finishing a degree in English and teaching at UP probably factored into our suboptimal career satisfaction to date, since those were basically the common denominators between us. I already did a video on how my English degree has caused me much misery, though I'm not sure if there will be an appropriate time to talk trash about teaching. Anyway, we eventually got to wondering to what end are we doing all of this? We should have actually nipped the conversation in the bud because talking about such things can trigger a crisis of confidence. There's this parable of two childhood friends from the province. One went to the city to become a professional, the other stayed in their village to be a farmer. The professional worked hard for decades, hustling amidst the bustle of the city, and after he retired, he went back to their village. The two friends met again, and the farmer asked the professional what his plans are now that he's retired. The professional said, "All I want now is to live in a farm, tend to some crops, and enjoy the breeze." The farmer replied, "So, where have you been? I've been doing that all my life." Take what you will from that. Personally, I think that the parables are the gross oversimplification of things. That's the kind of shit that can get viral, but is essentially hogwash when put into context. Sure, some of us just want a quiet life, tending a garden or living in a farm, but reality can be quite complex. Retirees want to do that shit as a hobby. Farmers do that to live. Besides, agriculture in the Philippines is a harsh industry to be in, especially if you don't own the land and have access to the capital, equipment, and the market. If you're able to farm comfortably, chances are you've been part of the landed gentry. What's funny is that a number of people I know do consider going that route. Save up, retire from practice, live on a quiet piece of land, be the ultimate plantita or plantita. I have to admit that I fancy that as well, but we're still a bit of ways from retiring. We still have a mortgage to pay off and the kid still has around 16 years of school ahead of her. So it's more realistic to think about the lifestyle that you can have right now while slaving away towards retirement. Now, come to think of it, I think I just want to be, Saktong Burgis. The word Burgis does come with negative connotations in Filipino, but if we just interpret it as it is, it simply comes from the word bourgeois, meaning middle class. In fact, if you're educated and working as a white-collar professional, you're already part of what's called the petty bourgeoisie. So, in the very least, most of us can qualify as Burgis. Petty bourgeois nga lang, but Burgis pa rin. There's no need for us to be pretentious and project otherwise. What can be relative here is our definition of sakto. To my non-Filipino friends watching this, sakto is a shortened form of exacto, which can be translated to just right. Much like what Goldilocks preference is, not too hard, not too soft, just right. Not too hot, not too cool, just right. Problem is, pinpointing such a state in between two extremes can be quite the conundrum. We've all heard that crap about, money can't buy you happiness, but money can surely stave off misery. There have been attempts to determine the magic number of how much money you actually need. Not too long ago, a study done by scientists at Purdue University made it to the news and has recently been making rounds in my social network feed again. The result was expanded by expansivity to consider cost and quality of living depending on where you live. For us here in the Philippines, it says that you should be earning around 120,000 pesos a month. It's pretty understandable that such a figure elicited reaction from some of my friends who are in the public education sector. Even with more than a decade's experience on the job, a good number of them don't earn close to that. Teachers and school administrators are quite poorly paid here in the country. The national minimum wage can earn a person working 22 days a month just about 12,000 pesos, or just a tenth of the magic number. Pretty sad if you ask me. Now, what's more troubling is that I have serious doubts if that truly applies to our context here in the Philippines. If you're probably living a single lifestyle with zero obligations, then that number seems to be fine. You can buy your own condo, pay for a car, take frequent trips. But I know families and households who earn twice that but are living paycheck to paycheck trying to keep up with the rising costs of middle-class living. Then again, it can be argued that happiness is a mindset. There are people who earn far fewer pesos and yet exhibit a higher degree of happiness and contentment than others. But it's just like the parable all over again, considering how, as a society, we don't have any other safeguards such as access to comprehensive and quality and free social services, I doubt if anyone making do with meager finances can really sustain a prolonged state of happiness, especially when shit happens like illness or accidents. So yeah, being Saktong Burgis, considering everything, would seem to require a substantial income. Unfortunately, that number might be a tough figure to achieve for the typical petty bourgeois.